Legendary dragons. Long before time took shape and gods were given names, there existed Io, also known as Asgarath. He's not just the father of all dragons, he's the very axis of balance itself. From Io sprang both order and chaos, Bahamut and Tiamat, two sides of his divided essence. Bahamut, the platinum dragon, embodies unwavering mercy. He doesn't strut around like a king. Instead, he often appears as a humble traveler, accompanied by the golden canaries, celestial beings of immense power that silently watch over him. His true form shines with a radiant platinum light, and his voice commands even the attention of gods. In his brilliant fortress high above Mount Celestia, Bahamut stands ready not to rule, but to step in when all hope seems lost. On the other hand, Tiamat is the very essence of domination. With 5 heads, each capable of unleashing a different kind of death, she resides in the dark depths of Avernus, her insatiable greed matched only by her refined cruelty. As the mother of chromatic dragons, she was forged in tyranny and reigns through fear. Her cults spread across various worlds, lured by the power they believe they can control. And between their light and shadow there shimmered Sardior, the ruby dreamer. As the god of gem dragons and the embodiment of psionic clarity, he floated around the material plane, a meditative spirit in a ruby form. Sardior didn't seek dominion, he sought understanding, a balance between thought and existence. But his form shattered, leaving only fragments behind. And then there's Ashardalon, the broken god who never should have existed. Once a red dragon, he tore out his own heart and replaced it with a bound demon lord in a desperate quest for immortality. What emerged was a grotesque fusion of flesh and infernal ruin. His breath scorches the seams of reality, and his fortress gnaws at the edges of existence. Though he should have perished long ago, he persists, a living proof that ambition without limit breeds nothing but decay. Red dragons. They are the rulers of the skies, proud, ancient, and completely convinced of their own superiority. Among the chromatic dragons, reds are the most feared and ambitious, driven by an insatiable desire for power and a relentless quest to gather wealth beyond human understanding. They don't just raid villages or guard their treasures, they command entire territories. These majestic, muscular beasts with crimson scales as hard as steel and a wingspan that can blot out the sun prefer to make their homes in mountainous regions, especially in volcanic layers, where they can survey the world from high above, keeping an eye out for any threats. Their lairs are often surrounded by desolate landscapes scorched by their fiery breath and devoid of life. Their treasure hoards are the stuff of legends, including rivers of gold, crowns turned to molten metal, and gemstones embedded in the very walls of their caverns. The red dragon's hunger for gold isn't just about greed, it's about dominance. In battle, reds fight with the confidence of gods as they are extremely intelligent. They wield fire breath powerful enough to vaporize buildings, and their physical might is unmatched among their chromatic kin. And when provoked, they immediately strike, aiming to kill in a single overwhelming blast. Very few creatures can withstand the wrath of a red dragon, and none can truly earn its trust. Mortals who attempt to negotiate with them are viewed as mere pawns, temporary tools at best. Even other dragons tend to steer clear of them, for red dragons do not share their power. Blue dragons. They are tyrants of the desert, ruling wastelands with a taste for psychological warfare. Blue dragons see themselves as monarchs, or perfectly evolved hunters with the right to command and destroy anything beneath them. While red dragons dominate through fire and fury, blue dragons operate with control. Their sleek, powerful bodies are adorned with scales that shimmer like a stormy sea, and their horns twist elegantly, resembling a crown of thunder. Blue dragons prefer desert canyons and secret cave systems hidden beneath layers of sand. These layers are nearly impossible to locate, often shielded by illusion magic, shifting dunes and relentless storms that seem to go on forever. In battle, blue dragons play the long game, convinced they've already secured victory before the first strike is made. They shy away from close combat, opting instead to hover high above and unleash arcs of lightning that can slice through entire battalions. Fair fights are not in their playbook. They always have a plan. When a blue dragon decides to engage, it's already mapped out the outcome. For them, battle is a game of chess, not a mere brawl. They seldom kill without reason. There's no need for that. Those who oppose them will eventually meet their end, while those who serve may enjoy a comfortable existence for generations. Blue dragons don't just seek victory. They aim to outsmart, outmaneuver, and outlast every competitor. Green dragons. These are the tricksters of the wild, manipulative and driven by a thirst for control. Among chromatic dragons, greens are the most insidious, preferring to dominate minds rather than territories. Their idea of power is infiltration, and where others seek tribute, green dragons seek submission. A green dragon's appearance is unmistakable. Their scales shine like polished emerald curved into spiny ridges along the back and tail. A crown of twisted horns curls like smoke from their skull, and their long serpentine body moves with a hunter's poise. But their most chilling feature is their face, long, crocodilian, with eyes that gleam with cold amusement. Their domain is the forest, dense, overgrown, and shrouded in fog. They build their lairs deep within the tangled heart of the woods, surrounded by poisonous mists, and creatures warped by long exposure to the green dragon's presence. Every leaf becomes a spy, every breeze carries their scent. In combat, they prefer deception to brute force. Green dragons possess a breath weapon of corrosive acid, but they seldom use it as their first line of attack. Instead, they let paranoia do the work. Their true power lies in persuasion, and in the carefully crafted lie that leads to betrayal without a single claw being raised. Black dragons. These creatures aren't conquerors, schemers, or sages. They are pure destroyers. To the black dragons, nothing beautiful should remain and nothing sacred should endure. They settle in swamps or drowned ruins of ancient battlefields, not for comfort, but because those places reflect their soul. Its hide is a slick, dark armor of iron-hard scales, shimmering like oil in the shadows. Long curved horns jut back from its skull like jagged scythes, and its face narrows into a cruel crocodilian snout. Its wings may appear tattered, but they are powerful, and its gaze holds the same insatiable hunger as its breath, a stream of corrosive acid that can melt both metal and flesh with equal ease. Their hoards are collections of war trophies, melted helmets, warped relics, and other items left half-eaten and half-corroded, kept not for their worth but out of sheer malice. In combat, a black dragon doesn't announce its presence with a roar. It lurks beneath still waters or behind a shroud of fog, striking mercilessly and disappearing before any retaliation can occur. It's an ambush predator at heart. Black dragons don't seek worship or loyalty. They prefer victims to subjects. Their minds are twisted by centuries of bitterness, bitter that others are loved, respected, or remembered. White dragons. They're the wildest of the chromatic dragons, often seen as ruthless hunters of the frost, unyielding and driven more by instinct than by thought. White dragons don't engage in posturing or negotiations. They strike and kill with chilling efficiency. Their breath is a fierce blast of winter, so cold it can shatter stone and freeze blood in an instant. Their scales glisten like ice, thick and jagged, while their eyes glow with a pale, predatory fire. These dragons dwell in icy caves atop frozen peaks and in ancient ruins buried under layers of snow. Their territories stretch far and wide, desolate and marked by frozen remains and the haunting silence. Their hordes are half buried under snowdrifts, frozen into walls, or scattered among piles of cracked bones. They don't admire their treasure. They see it as evidence that something dared to invade their territory and didn't make it out alive. They're strategic in the way only a true predator can be on the battlefield, testing their prey with sudden swoops and stealthy approaches before delivering a lethal strike. Among dragons, whites are seen as beasts, untamed and unruly. They trust no one and respond to any intrusion with savage violence. Gold dragons. These majestic creatures are the epitome of nobility among dragonkind. They view power not as a weapon, but as a responsibility, and they treasure wisdom and the preservation of life. Gold dragons are ancient and shaped by compassion and unshakable purpose. Among the metallic dragons, they are unmatched in both power and reverence. These creatures are enormous, radiant beings, their scales glistening like molten metal, with long, delicate tendrils flowing from their jaws like celestial whiskers. Some believe those whiskers can reveal glimpses of the future. They make their lairs in high places far from mortal reach, like the peaks of cloud-ringed mountains, caverns behind sunlit waterfalls, or hidden sanctuaries guarded by illusion and ancient wards. Inside, their treasures aren't hoarded out of greed, but kept in memory. Each item, a relic, a lesson learned, or a promise kept. Their hoards gleam with gold, yes, but they also shine with significance. Every piece has a tale to tell, and none were taken with ill intent. When they engage in battle, they do so with both precision and compassion, favoring non-lethal means and negotiation until all else fails. But when true evil emerges, gold dragons stand firm. They swoop down like shooting stars, and they won't rest until the last cry fades away. Their mere presence can humble entire armies. Their fire burns with purity, not to destroy but to cleanse. Solitary by nature, they rarely reveal themselves directly, choosing to observe the world through illusion, polymorph, or dreams. Their wisdom spans ages, and they weigh every choice for what it means to the generations that will follow. Silver dragons. Behold the true champions of compassion, elegant beings with an ancient aura. Among all the metallic dragons, silver dragons hold a special place in the hearts of many because they choose to walk alongside the mortals they protect. While gold dragons prefer to observe history from a distance, silver dragons dive right into it, becoming an integral part of the world. They love high mountain peaks cloaked in snow and cloud where the sky feels near and the world below looks small. Their lairs shimmer with frost and starlight, carved from glacier walls. Their scales gleam like moonlit metal, smooth and pale, and when they spread their wings, the air itself glitters. Silver dragons are naturally drawn to acts of bravery and kindness, often quietly supporting heroes long before anyone knows their names. Stories of courage resonate deeply with them, and they grieve for every life they cannot save. They unleash a chilling mist that can freeze an army in its tracks. But their most remarkable gift is their ability to transform. Silver dragons frequently take on humanoid forms, living for years or even decades in disguise to offer help and protection. Despite their age and power, silver dragons remain hopeful, perhaps naively so. They see not just what mortals are, but what they could become, and they believe that choosing goodness is a decision worth making time and time again. Bronze dragons. These magnificent beings are the guardians of the shoreline, ancient and irresistibly drawn to the trials faced by mortals. Among all the metallic dragons, they are the most battle-minded. They dive head-first into battles, keenly observing whether courage stands strong when the waves crash the hardest. Their lairs are nestled just beyond the surf, crafted within sea caves that ebb and flow with the tides. These are magically fortified, reinforced with coral and stone, and filled with treasures salvaged from shipwrecks and battlefields alike. Salt stains their hoards a vibrant green, and their scales glisten like polished brass under the sun, weathered and regal. A bronze dragon's primary breath weapon is a bolt of lightning, striking swiftly and decisively. But when they need to hold back, they can unleash a wave of repulsion, sending foes flying without a scratch. They have a deep fascination with human laws and often take on humanoid forms to experience these practices up close. Some act as advisors to kings and queens, while others blend in as anonymous officers among soldiers. They seldom reveal their true identities, preferring to observe how people govern themselves when they think no one is watching. Bronze dragons are committed to upholding honor, but they will never sacrifice their conscience. Copper dragons. They are the jesters of the dragon world, irreverent and utterly enchanted by the ridiculous. While other dragons might demand tribute, copper dragons crave laughter. They're the pranksters, the riddle makers, and the provocateurs who view life as a playful puzzle rather than a serious challenge. Yet, behind their humor lies a sharp intellect and a deep-rooted sense of duty. Their jokes aren't just for entertainment, they're tools to disarm, to educate, and sometimes to safeguard what others might miss. These dragons dwell in dry hills, sun-baked caves, or rugged uplands where the air is warm and the vistas are expansive. Their layers are filled with false floors, bewildering tunnels, and optical illusions, defenses crafted not to kill but to embarrass intruders into retreating. Their scales shimmer like polished copper in the sunlight, and while their breath weapon is a stream of corrosive acid, they also possess a slowing breath that can sap an opponent's speed and strength in a heartbeat. It's their favorite trick, turning a serious fight into a comical spectacle before things get too intense. Copper dragons have a passion for stories and games. They'll trade treasure for a clever tale, reward those who can outsmart them, and teach a lesson to the arrogant through embarrassment rather than harm. But don't be fooled. They're not just harmless jesters. Beneath the sarcasm and laughter lies a strong sense of justice, particularly when it comes to bullies and tyrants. Brass dragons. They're the loudest voices in the desert, quirky and surprisingly warm-hearted. Among all the metallic dragons, brass dragons stand out as the most socially inclined, treating newcomers like potential friends and viewing conversation as a valuable exchange. Instead of measuring worth in gold or power, they value it in stories. They create their lairs at the foot of rocky mesas or under sandstone cliffs, where the wind never stops whispering. These caverns twist deep into the earth, cool and resonant, filled with layers of wind-worn stone and the echoes of countless voices. Their scales glimmer like polished brass in the sunlight, and their breath can either scorch with fire or soothe into slumber, depending on how dull the company becomes. They don't hoard riches. They hoard memories, folk songs, jokes, rumors, and the names of everyone who ever taught them something meaningful. Brass dragons thrive on learning, often mingling among mortals disguised as scholars, travelers, or retired soldiers. They slip into taverns and forums to debate politics, recite ballads, or engage strangers just to hear their thoughts. While they seldom engage in battle, they're far from defenseless. Push them too far, and they'll respond with sharp wit, fiery breath, and a glare that can silence even the most arrogant tyrant mid-speech. Amethyst dragons. Unlike the fiery passions of chromatics or the mortal-minded goals of metallics, amethyst dragons operate on a timescale and wavelength that go far beyond what mortals can grasp. They're on a quest for balance across different realms, and they see the material plane as just one note in a grand symphony and only intervene when the harmony is threatened. Their bodies glisten like living crystals, a rich violet hue that's smooth as glass, bending light into mesmerizing patterns that seem to shift with their thoughts. Psionic power flows through every fiber of their being, and they can manipulate thoughts or matter without making a sound. They are drawn to the boundaries between worlds, building their lairs in caverns shaped by planar rifts, meteor craters, or floating rock formations suspended by gravity-defying magic. These lairs are intentionally perplexing, designed like paradoxes to confuse any intruders before a fight even starts. Their breath weapon isn't fire or acid, but a pulse of raw gravitational force that crushes, repels, or disorients. It's more of a localized shift in reality itself, capable of slamming foes against walls or into the sky with terrifying precision. Amethyst dragons have a penchant for collecting ancient maps, forgotten languages, and theories about planar shifts or psychic connections. They are deeply committed to maintaining balance in all things. Crystal dragons. These magnificent creatures embody the dazzling spirit of the gem lineage, vibrant, ancient beings filled with an energy that feels more like starlight than flesh. They prefer movement over mastery and harmony over hierarchy. Their bodies shimmer like living quartz, translucent and adorned with radiant facets that scatter colorful trails as they glide. They make their homes in places where light lingers, glacial caverns beneath polar skies, frost-covered palaces perched on mountaintops, or crystal-studded hollows tucked away in ancient tundras. The air around their lairs hums with a psionic resonance. Their breath weapon unleashes a burst of radiant starlight, a concentrated energy that can blind and burn with celestial brilliance. But their true strength goes beyond mere light. Crystal dragons are powerful empaths, and their psionics manifest through resonance, shifting dreams, soothing fears, or igniting inspiration. They often seek out mortals, particularly artists, visionaries, or children. Yet even in their kindness, they remain elusive. They steer clear of war and politics, not out of fear, but because they understand how easily light can be turned into a weapon. When they engage in conflict, it's a conscious choice. Their interventions are marked by a clarity that cuts deeper than any blade. In those moments, their joy transforms into a fierce, righteous fury, cold and blinding, just like the stars. Emerald dragons. They are the keepers of hidden truths and ancient mysteries that time has nearly forgotten. Among the gem dragon family, emerald dragons stand out as the most elusive. Mystery is their art, and silence is their shield. And in the quiet spaces between civilizations, they listen to the echoes of histories no one else remembers. Their scales glint like cut glass, vibrant green in daylight but dark as forest shade in shadow. Light fractures along their form, casting strange reflections that blur the line between illusion and presence. Their horns curve back in serrated ridges, their wings slice the air like panes of crystal, and their eyes burn with eerie brilliance. Their lairs are tucked away beneath crumbling cities, lost temples, and weathered cliffs where no paths lead. Even when you think you're close, confirming their presence is a challenge. Their breath weapon unleashes a powerful psionic blast that can shatter thoughts and fracture will, but they prefer to avoid brute force. By nature, they are cautious and methodical. Even other dragons find them hard to decipher. Every encounter feels like a riddle, filled with questions and unexpected turns. Sapphire dragons. They stand as the commanding generals of the gem lineage. A sapphire dragon's mind operates like a tactical engine, constantly analyzing situations and devising backup plans. When they speak, their words are concise and to the point. Their movements are efficient, reminiscent of a soldier's precision. Their scales shimmer like polished stone, an intense mineral blue, with sharp edges and ridged spines that resemble sculpted crystal. They flourish in the depths, residing in intricate caverns that were carved out by ancient forces long before humans roamed the earth. Their breath weapon unleashes a thunderous roar, a controlled shockwave capable of shattering mines, collapsing tunnels, or breaking enemy lines with remarkable ease. Sapphire dragons are born tacticians, often surrounding themselves with a web of spies, magical sensors, or loyal creatures trained to carry out their strategies in their absence. They hold order, hierarchy, and discipline in high regard, but they are not tyrants. They recognize that structure is essential for civilizations to endure the chaos of the world. For a sapphire dragon, the world is perpetually at war with itself. Topaz dragons. As the skeptics of the gem lineage, these dragons ponder the concept of collapse and are quietly fixated on the inevitability of endings. They aren't cruel or villainous, rather their intrigue with entropy makes them unsettling to most. For a topaz dragon, death isn't a tragedy, it's simply a design, fulfilling its purpose. Their bodies are sharp and jagged, reminiscent of cracked amber glowing from within. Light bends oddly around them, never quite reflecting as it should. They favor crumbling coastlines where cliffs bleed into the sea, carving out lairs in caverns shaped by the relentless passage of time and tide. Their breath weapon reflects their philosophy, a surge of necrotic energy that erodes flesh, disrupts vitality, and accelerates the unraveling of life. They aren't hostile, but they're far from gentle. Topaz dragons question everything: beliefs, attachments, the illusions of permanence. Mortals who cross their paths often leave transformed, not burdened by threats but by a new perspective. Some walk away shaken, while others find an unexpected peace in the honesty of the dragon's worldview. Solar dragons, also called sun or radiant dragons. Solar dragons are cosmic predators wrapped in brilliance, gliding through wild space with effortless majesty. Native to the stars themselves, they are dragons of light and gravity, capable of natural spell jamming or space travel. As they mature, their bodies take on a sleeker, more serpentine form, adorned with luminous wings that sparkle like solar flares. Their lairs radiate intense light and elemental energy, making them nearly impossible for non-magical creatures to approach. While sun dragons are proud and playful, they are also driven by instinct and can be dangerous. They're fiercely territorial, often claiming entire asteroid belts as their hunting grounds. Though they won't prey on sentient beings, their patience can wear thin if lesser creatures venture too close. Their breath weapon unleashes a mode of pure photonic energy, seemingly harmless until it erupts into a dazzling explosion. They are masters of aerial combat, skillfully manipulating light and gravity, and can scorch their foes before they even realize what's happening. Sun dragons harbor a particular disdain for lunar dragons whose affinity for shadow and trickery clashes with their solar pride. Lunar dragons. Alternatively called moon dragons or face dragons, lunar dragons are mysterious shapeshifters that call wild space their home. These solitary beings aren't tied to the ground or the sky. Instead, they dance with the ever-changing light of the moons that orbit above. Their very essence is linked to a 30-day cycle of transformation, where they shift through phases that alter their colors, moods, and magical prowess. These dragons view themselves as superior, not just to mortals, but to other dragons. Seeing the lunar cycle as proof of their elevated design, they're fascinated by the duality of light and darkness and obsessed with symbols, cycles, and the manipulation of fate. Their powers are equally strange. Moon dragons breathe black frost that slows and entombs, and their bodies can phase out, becoming partially incorporeal to shrug off harm. At different ages, they gain spells tied to light, darkness, gravity, and celestial force. In their white phase, their presence forces lycanthropes to shift uncontrollably, binding them in unnatural loyalty. Some hoard frozen treasures deep inside moon caverns. Their lairs are a maze of impossible twists and vaults filled with suspended ice. Every detail is meticulously arranged according to lunar significance, from the placement of relics to the design of corridors. Deep dragons. Often referred to as purple dragons, deep dragons are masters of psionics and dark magic, wielding their powers with incredible precision. They have shape-changing abilities developed for navigating the treacherous Underdark. With their slender wings and agile limbs, they can twist and turn through the narrowest of tunnels. Their scales glimmer in the light, but turn as black when darkness falls. The oldest among them develop peculiar fungal growths around their heads and necks, strange symbiotic blooms that hint at their long exposure to the chaotic magic of the Underdark. A deep dragon's lair is always in a remote and inhospitable location, often hidden within ancient ruins. Many of these lairs are protected by illusions or are nearly impossible to enter without the dragon's alternate forms, either a serpentine winged snake or a humanoid disguise. The treasure hoards reveal what they value most: scrolls, spell books, memory crystals, and cursed relics, all cleverly concealed behind ambush points and walls of magically grown fungus. For a deep dragon, knowledge is the ultimate power. In battle, deep dragons can tear through stone with claws sharp enough to slice steel, launching surprise attacks from above or causing cave-ins to erase any trace of their presence. Their breath weapon, unleashes a psychic wave filled with spores for stunning or controlling minds. Cunning and coldly pragmatic, deep dragons view mortals as little more than tools or puzzles to be manipulated. They often disguise themselves as drow to trade secrets and infiltrate cities. Their obsession with knowledge borders on the fanatical. Moonstone dragons. They are enchanting beings of twilight and transformation, quietly weaving in and out of the lives of mortals, showing up only when something peculiar calls out to them. Their magic revolves around illusion, teleportation, and protective wards, more about clever misdirection than sheer strength. Their bodies glimmer with a gentle glow reminiscent of polished moonlight. In bright light, their scales reflect silver, while in the dark they emit a soft inner light. When they fix their gaze on a creature, it feels like time itself holds its breath. Their lairs have a dreamlike quality where time drags on, mountaintop pools and hidden valleys that echo their Feywild roots. These dragons have a penchant for collecting heirlooms, music boxes, broken swords, handwritten letters, and other relics steeped in emotion. In combat, Moonstone dragons unleash a radiant breath that warps perception and cuts through memory with ghostly accuracy. They prefer to de-escalate situations, using gentle power to disrupt violence, but when cornered, they strike with an eerie elegance, disappearing and reappearing in dazzling bursts of light. Dragon turtles. Dragon turtles are colossal ancient creatures that resemble a fusion of dragon and sea turtle, with armored shells the size of ships and the temperament of a coastal storm. Though not true dragons in the strictest sense, they command draconic fear and respect. Their shells are ridged and barnacle-crusted, often mistaken for small islands when resting. Their heads are draconic, with sweeping jaws and intelligent eyes, and steam constantly rises from their nostrils even when calm. Despite their size, they move with surprising speed in the water. Dragon turtles dwell in underwater caverns near volcanic vents or shipwreck-strewn reefs. These lairs are filled with gold and salvage taken from tribute or sunken vessels. They are known to make deals with coastal cities, demanding offerings in exchange for safe passage or protection from greater threats. In combat, they release a scalding steam breath capable of boiling sailors alive and warping hulls. Their jaws can snap ships in half, and their shell can deflect cannon fire. Still, they rarely fight without cause. Conflict is costly, and most threats can be dissuaded with a show of strength or a sharp negotiation. Sea serpents. They're fierce aquatic hunters, often referred to as sea drakes, ruling the vast oceans and the deep waters near the coast. With their elongated, flexible bodies and webbed fins, these creatures are perfectly designed for speed and power beneath the surface. Their jaws are wide and strong enough to bite through ship hulls, dragging entire crews down to a watery doom. While they may not fit the strict definition of dragons, their might and presence can easily rival even the oldest monsters in their territories. Sea serpents view anything that enters their domain as either a meal or a threat. They lurk beneath ships, patiently waiting to attack. Their favorite strategy is to smash vessels apart with their massive size, then use their constricting strength and powerful bites to finish off any survivors. Thanks to their night vision and keen aquatic senses, they can strike under the cover of night or from the depths of the ocean, making them a persistent menace for sailors and anyone traveling the seas. Some of these beasts are even amphibious, able to chase their prey onto land for a short time, though they truly thrive in the water. In many coastal areas, sightings of these creatures are seen as harbingers of disaster, rightly so, as few ships manage to survive an encounter with one. Fairy dragons. These are some of the most enchanting and elusive beings you'll ever encounter. Fairy dragons are tiny draconic tricksters that combine the playful spirit of Fae with the true magic of dragons. Their scales glimmer in a dazzling array of colors, shifting hues that reflect their age and magical prowess. Despite their small stature, they are incredibly clever and possess a knack for magic that makes them nearly impossible to catch. They dwell in hidden glades and serene corners of the Feywild. They have a penchant for puzzles, riddles, and harmless pranks that leave bewildered travelers scratching their heads. Some even form bonds with woodland creatures or kind-hearted adventurers. Their magic is deeply rooted in illusion and enchantment. A fairy dragon can bend light or fill the air with infectious giggles that leave would-be predators utterly disarmed. Their breath weapon releases a cone of euphoric gas, charming or incapacitating foes with sheer delight. Even in the heat of battle, they approach combat like a playful game, darting behind cover, casting spells, and turning the battlefield into their own playground. While they're rarely malicious, fairy dragons can be quite unpredictable. One moment they might seem like helpful guides, and the next, they could snatch your map and vanish into the air. Pseudodragons. These are charming little draconic beings about the size of a house cat. Pseudodragons are clever and curious, and they sometimes choose to hang out with wizards or sorcerers. Their relationship is always built on mutual respect and never just servitude, as they are fiercely independent creatures. Their bodies are sleek, adorned with fine scales that glimmer in shades of red or brown, often catching a hint of green or gold when the light hits just right. Those bat-like wings, they're perfect for agile flight and some impressive aerial stunts. But the real showstopper is their barbed tail for delivering a non-lethal sting that can send you off to dreamland. Pseudodragons have a knack for limited telepathy, allowing them to share simple thoughts and images with nearby creatures. They're incredibly observant and have a keen sensitivity to magic, often stepping up as magical assistants, scouts, or even sentinels in arcane hideaways. Their sharp senses and ability to spot invisibility or magical auras make them invaluable allies for those who manage to win their trust. Hollow dragons. When a metallic dragon dies with a soul too bound to duty to rest, it may return as a hollow dragon, an incorporeal echo of its former self, animated by divine will or a binding magical oath. They exist to protect and fulfill a sacred charge that death could not interrupt. Their bodies are spectral and incomplete, flickering like mirages of golden or silver scales stretched over ghost light. A hollow dragon's eyes burn with radiant energy, and its voice echoes like a memory across a cathedral hall. Despite their appearance, they are not illusions. They can strike with radiant force, pass through solid matter, and inspire terror in those who face them with a guilty heart. Many wield breath weapons laced with holy energy, capable of disrupting magic and banishing undead. They are often tied to specific sites or relics, old temples, divine vaults, or resting places of ancient heroes. Clerics and paladins often see them as signs of divine intervention, while necromancers view them as living reminders of the perversion of the undead. Ghost dragons. These are ethereal remnants of those who departed this world, clutching their treasures or driven by an unquenchable thirst for revenge. Bound to the realm of the undead by greed, regret, or sheer willpower, these spectral horrors retain their cunning and strength long after their physical bodies have turned to dust. They manifest as translucent forms, their bones faintly visible through a swirling mist or glowing smoke. Their wings are like shrouds of fog, and their eyes gleam with a cold, pale light, lacking any warmth or compassion. Each ghost dragon is linked to a specific horde, whether it still exists or not, and they guard it with fierce determination. In combat, ghost dragons unleash a necrotic breath that chills the very essence of life, draining vitality and snuffing out the will to fight. Their incorporeal nature makes them nearly immune to physical attacks, allowing them to phase through walls, strike from unexpected angles, and vanish before a counterattack can land. Despite their fearsome appearances, some retain their eloquence, speaking in riddles or negotiating with the living to settle old scores. Others are fixated on reclaiming parts of a lost hoard or seeking vengeance on those who dared to disturb it. Shadow Dragon. Shadow dragons are what happens to true dragons when their insatiable greed lingers even after death, causing their physical forms to dissolve into shadows. Some of these creatures are born in the Shadowfell, a dark and twisted parallel dimension. They have translucent bodies with horns that are curved back, and their tails develop shadowy fins. Their eyes sink deep with an insatiable hunger, a transformation that reveals not just their origins but their evolution or prolonged exposure to negative energy. In battle, shadow dragons start by enveloping the area in magical darkness that no light can penetrate. Once that shroud descends, their foes don't stand a chance. Their breath weapon unleashes a cone of shadow, a draining mist that siphons away memory, vitality, and even spells from their victims. Those who fall to it don't always stay dead. Some rise again, bound to the dragon as spectral thralls. Magic bends to their will. As they age, they master the art of slipping between shadows, conjuring illusions, and even disappearing entirely. Mirror images confound attackers while enchantments safeguard their lairs. Solitary and secretive shadow dragons prefer to dwell in places where light is but a distant memory, deep underground or in areas where the Shadowfell seeps through the stone. Dracolich. A Dracolich is what happens when a true dragon chooses to forsake its life in exchange for eternal power. Through a sinister ritual involving a phylactery, the dragon links its soul to an object, allowing it to cheat death completely. When it's defeated, its spirit returns to this vessel, ready to take over another reptilian body. This terrifying blend of draconic strength and necromantic immortality keeps the breath weapon, spellcasting, and magical presence of its living self now enhanced by the unholy durability of undeath. Their look is nothing short of horrifying. Decayed wings, exposed bones, and eyes that burn with an intensity that seems to pierce right into your soul. Dracolich exudes a supernatural aura of fear and commands the battlefield with an eerie calm. It doesn't feel hunger or the need for sleep, and its mind grows colder, more calculating, and detached from anything mortal. Its voice carries the weight of centuries and the cruelty of a being that has long forgotten what it means to truly live. Dracoliches are typically brought into existence through the teachings of Samaster, a mad prophet, and the founder of the cult of the dragon. He believed that dead dragons were meant to rule the world. Destroying a Dracolich is no simple task. Killing its body only sends its soul back to the phylactery. To truly unmake the creature, you must find and destroy this hidden vessel. Elder Brain Dragons. When a Mind Flayer colony gets a little too ambitious and reckless, you end up with something truly bizarre. By fusing the body of a living dragon with the psionic core of an elder brain, they create a massive aberration that combines the sheer physical might of dragons with the immense mental capabilities of illicit intelligence. The process begins with the capture of a powerful dragon. Mind Flayers restrain it, then embed their elder brain directly onto its back. Once the brain's tendrils penetrate the skull and reach the dragon's mind, the creature undergoes a complete psychic takeover. These elder brain dragons soar through the skies, launching attacks on cities, fortresses, and warbands across different worlds, spreading the elder brain's influence far and wide. Their enormous tentacles can crush giants and disrupt spellcasters mid-casting, breaking their concentration with just a thought. Their breath weapon is a terrifying sight, a powerful jet of brine filled with Mind Flayer tadpoles. Anyone caught in that spray risks more than just drowning. They face the risk of transformation. Just moments after infection, a new illithid is born. Few fates are as grotesque or irreversible. In combat, they don't just act like mindless beasts, they take on the role of commanders. Immune to fear, fatigue, and psychic attacks, they plan each move with the cold precision of a being that has experienced countless lives through countless minds. And this concludes our video for today. If you've enjoyed it, let me know your thoughts in the comments and subscribe to the channel for more content like this.